Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Heathcock. I'm with Tree Connection, and today we're going to talk about the cost of tree service. All right, so there are many things that go into considering what you need for the cost of tree service. There's many factors that need to be considered. There's going to be a condition of the tree, size, location, obstruction, position, the health, danger factor, types of services that you're going to need. Do you need trim? Do you need it just cleaned up? Felling, removal, haul off, stump grinding, those kinds of things. All of these different factors determine the cost. All right, this here is a small tree. This here, this is like a small tree, pretty close to a large tree. You can know what a small tree is when it is about as tall as your house. It could be taller, but not taller than a 2-story. When considering the base, you can almost wrap your hands around it and your fingers almost touch, or they do touch. This is a very small tree right here. However, this is a tree that is a small tree, but it could be placed in the category of small or a medium-sized tree. Here, I would consider this to be a medium-sized tree. As you can see, it is taller than a 2-story. So is this one. The branches extend higher. If you were to wrap your fingers around the base, your fingers would almost touch. If you look at the base right here, if I were to try to wrap my arms around it, then yeah, they would probably almost touch. Here, I'm almost tempted to put my arms around it or my fingers. My arms could wrap around there, probably overlap. Here, this is interesting because your arms could probably overlap, and obviously it's going to be bigger around than what your fingers are. But if you notice, it's a very small tree. This is a mobile home, so you know the height of a house is probably here. It's not taller than a 2-story, and there's not very lot of limbs there, so it's going to be considered a small tree. This is what we consider to be a very large tree. It is so big around that 2 people cannot touch their fingers together. Branches are big enough around to be trees themselves. Every single picture that you see here is the pictures of the same tree. This tree here is taller than a 2-story house. This is a 1-story house. A 2-story is going to be like up here. This is the power lines. It looks like the power lines are about this tall, but if you will notice in this picture, the power lines come to about this point, and that point is here. So right there. If you look and you see this man standing, you notice that his head, that he's almost 7 foot tall, and his head goes below this stump here. And you see the stump is right here. So he is shorter than that. So that gives you a good idea of how big around this base is. You see here, this stump here is quite large. After we cut this down, the mother, the father, the 3 children, they were all able to sit on the base of this trunk. I wish I had that picture to show you. But this is a very large tree. This tree here, it was about $5,000. We did it a couple years ago. However, with the cost of inflation after COVID, this tree is probably more likely to be bid nowadays at like $7,000, just because of the cost of inflation. Everything's going up, so prices have to go up too. Now, tree location. A store came through. This was 1V of an entire tree. Half of it fell on the house. The other half fell on the fence and kind of crushed this deck and kind of ruined their pool a little bit. This is a cleanup job, obviously. And this location of the tree, it matters. This, if this was just on the ground and if we could just cut it up, it's going to be a lot cheaper than with it being on the house. This makes it very dangerous for it to be removed. All right, see this? Obstruction. This picture really doesn't do this tree's justice. This tree is actually very huge. This tree is 150 foot. This lift, and if not being tall enough, is only 60 foot. Thought we could get it with that one. Actually, I had to go back and get another one for 120. So we could reach the top. Yeah, so the obstruction is, see this power line right here? Normally we could just have the power line dropped and then we could have just laid it, fell it here. But because this power line, the way that these power lines are set up, they have one power for all the houses out here. They don't have a separate power going to each individual house. It's in the middle of the sticks. It's just how it is. So you have this power line here, you have these power lines here. There's another, this is a porch here. It's really close to the house. The house is in the way. You have these other trees in the way. Very, very difficult tree to get down. You have to take it down piece by piece. That's going to affect your cost. The longer it's going to take, the harder it is, the dangerous it is to take down. There was a lot of dead limbs in this tree. Those types of things are going to affect your cost. Position. All right, see this tree here, it is being held together by a strap. We didn't do that. The homeowner did that because it was splitting right down the middle. This one here fell during the storm. Tree Brothers caught it. It's going to be a bit different to cut it down. Just because you can't cut these other tree downs without the tree falling down on top of you. So a bit difficult. Again, it had to be taken piece by piece. This one had to be taken down piece by piece. It had like multiple trailers around it, other trees. This one here, this tree, this is the biggest picture here. The tree is laying on the house. Essentially, the house is holding the tree up. The root system is mush now. It's total mush. There was like a bubble underneath it, and it was causing the tree to no longer have foundational support, and therefore it was landing on the house. All right. Costs associated with tree service. All right, so as a tree service, we have operational costs, insurance, taxes, large equipment, maintenance, monthly payments, vehicle maintenance, small equipment costs, safety equipment, climbing equipment, tools, like tools to work on the equipment, annual education, training, certificates. Then there's the job costs. There's gas, there's hauling fees, the cost of labor, permits if we have to get them, the cost of rental equipment. Those, if your tree's in a position and we have to have a piece of equipment that we haven't currently bought yet, we're gonna have to rent. And all of this is what is where your payments are going to. When you're making a payment, when you're buying the service, this is what it's going to, before it ever even gets to go into the pocket of a tree professional or service. Or it goes to the tree service. This is where it has to go to first. All right, what are you paying for? You're paying for experience, reliability, license, insured, job completion, and knowledge. This is how it is. You can have experience doing tree service and not have the knowledge to do it. You take somebody who's just used to work for a tree company and now they think they can do it by themselves, they will soon be hit with the knowledge that they really actually don't know how to bed trees and do not know how to account for all the things that were on the other page that went through everything that a tree service has to pay for. Reliability. I can't tell you how many times we show up to a property and they tell us that we were the first ones that showed up. They'd already called several of the tree services and they just didn't show up. Licensed and insured. If the business isn't licensed and they do you wrong, there's no way you can get them in trouble, or you can post it on social media about them, but they'll just change their business name. There's no commitment to the name or anything. This way they can get in trouble with the state, prevent them from actually getting a different license. If they did something wrong, this isn't just someone being petty and upset. This is, hey, he dropped a tree on my house and didn't do anything about it because he didn't have insurance. Trust me, there's been plenty of those situations too where we've been called in because they didn't have insurance. Job completion. If they don't have the knowledge that knows how much the tree is going to be bid for, they're not going to be able to complete the job because they had no idea how much it was actually going to cost. Tree service costs money. That's why it costs you money, because it is a lot. It is very expensive work. All right. Now, the types of landscaping service providers. Landscaping. Um, the types of tree service providers, you're going to get the inexperienced, extremely low. The experienced, Price is Right. The big business, high end. Okay, so these people here, they don't have experience. They are not a big business that have already earned your trust because they've been around forever. Therefore, the only offer that they can give you is an extremely low price. That comes with its own drawbacks because it's extremely low. They don't have the knowledge of how much the tree service is, how much the service is actually going to cost. Therefore, they give you a really low bid. They're not reliable. They're not going to keep showing up. They're not going to be able to complete the job. And they're more likely to mess something up because they don't have the experience. So good luck picking these guys. Big business, high end. These businesses have been around for a very, very long time, back when it was very difficult for you to find anybody that knew how to do tree service. So they've been around for a long time. They get to charge the big bucks. Why? Because you trust them to do the job and you are paying for that trust. Most people who go after the high-end businesses, they don't have a problem paying the big bucks because they trust the business and they would rather lose money paying more because they know the job's going to get done right. And they know that if something goes wrong, that this big business has enough money to take care of it. This right here, you're going to have the middle ones right here. They are not as well known. They don't have the trust as a big business, but they have what these guys don't have, which is experience. They know how the job is going to go. They know how to do the job, and they're not going to be charging you an arm and a leg compared to this company here because they don't have the trust, because they haven't been around that long. However, they have what it takes to get it going. So when someone gives you a bid, you need to know which type of these 3 tiers is actually giving you a bid. And if at all costs, avoid these guys because they're gonna mess your stuff up. They just are. All right. Getting a low bid and when it's okay taking it. Okay, so if you don't have anything that they can mess up, go ahead and take the low bid. Like if it's, there's nothing around it, go ahead and let them take it. Go ahead and give it to them. It's a small tree. It's not around your house. And there's nothing around it. I mean, there's nothing around it. Like it's in the middle of the yard. There's not a shed near it. There's not your house near it. There's not a fence. Like there's nothing around it. Seen so many people allow people to cut on their tree and it's near power lines and it's like they don't have insurance. I don't know why you're letting them cut on your tree. They do not have insurance, but people do it. When it's taking a little bit, when the cost of when the risk outweighs the cost, don't do it. When the cost outweighs the bid, go ahead. Like outweighs the risk, sorry. When the cost outweighs the risk and it's a risk you're willing to take, go ahead. It's fine. All right. Sometimes taking the low bid costs twice as much as taking the high end. It just does. We had someone contact us and they wanted a bid. So we came out and gave them a bid. That was great. They didn't like the price. Happens all the time. They didn't like the price. And so they didn't take it. Whatever. A couple months later, they call and say, hey, is that bid still good? And I was like, no, it expired. We'll have to come out and look at it. It's been 30 days. As long as the tree is in the same position, then yeah, it's still good, but we'll have to come out and look. Oh, okay, we'll contact you when you have the money. Okay, that's great. A couple months go by, we have somebody put in for a request. It comes to my phone and says, hey, this person wants you to give them a bid. So I called them and it was a female and she ended up having the same last name as the gentleman that had been reaching out to us. And come to find out it was his wife. Go. Okay, awesome. You want us to come out? Well, best not to interrupt and let people just tell you. Apparently they had already had someone come out and cut the tree down and it fell on their shed and it destroyed their neighbor's fence, destroyed their fence. It went all into the backyard, and in the back, and then it extended out into the alleyway. So there's just this huge tree and there's limbs everywhere and it's this huge mess. And now instead of taking our bed and that's all it is, well now, you know, it's going to be even more because now I need to haul off the shed, haul off everything. You have to fix the fence, all these things. I had to call a plumber and have them fix the plumbing. There's all these things that had to be fixed. And it cost them a lot more than if they had just taken our bed originally. I don't know how long they had been like this. I think it had been like that for like a week, with it just being a mess and the neighbors having to deal with it and the back alley being a wreck before we were actually able to get in there. So it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay to take the low bid. It actually works against you. So I would highly not recommend it. To each his own. Get what you get. You get what you pay for. All right. Comparing lawn care to tree service, low versus high. Moral of the story, guys. Like if lawn care, tree service is like lawn care, then everybody could do it. And it wouldn't be a big deal. But it's not. You take the low end with lawn care service and someone, you know, throws a rock with their lawnmower and it hits your glass window. You just go get your window replaced. It's only gonna be like a couple $100 maybe. They might throw a rock and it might hit your car, still only a couple $100. You make that kind of mistake with the tree service and an entire limb is going to fall through your roof and it's going to cost you thousands upon thousands of dollars more than what the tree job originally would have cost. There's so many people that I talk to, they don't, they have homeowners insurance and they think it's going to cover them, and it's not. If you hire a tree service and you have insurance, they don't care. They don't care. You hired the tree service. They messed up your property. We're not going to pay for it. And in fact, we're going to drop your insurance until you get that fixed. Yeah. Yeah. That's the reality of it. That is the reality of it. They mess something up. That's what's going to happen. So I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would not go with the low bid. I would go with the bid that makes sense. You need to talk to the tree services. If you're getting really, really high bids, like everybody is telling you 25, 35, 2, and then this person with the chainsaw comes up and says, hey, I'll do it for $600. Ask them why. Ask them how they can do it for $600. Why is their cost so much cheaper than everybody else's? This is the only way you're going to know whether or not this person can actually do the job. Maybe you are getting taken advantage of. Maybe you are. Maybe these other people are overcharging you, but find out why. Find out how come these other tree services are charging you so much, but this person is only going to charge you $600. I mean, maybe they've got this great equipment that they just inherited and it's brand new and their cost is super cheap and they're just, you know, they can do it. They don't know how much they can make out of it or whatever the reason is. They're just able to figure it out, figure out why they're just able to. Make sure that they have insurance. Take that insurance paperwork that they hand you and call them and make sure that it is still in effect. Make sure. Educate yourself. Ask the hard questions. All right, let's talk about tree pricing. We already talked about why this makes this a small tree. Okay, this tree here, based off of these factors, this tree price should fall between $300 to $1,200. This tree here, because it was over the fence and he was going to have to cut it piece by piece, and over here there's a house that you can't see, and then there's another fence along this way that you can't see, it cost $800. If that tree had just been, you know, nothing had been around it, it'd been $300. Like seriously, would have been nothing, but it was $800. This tree here, we also did this one as well. It was, we charged them $12. So all in all, you know, they spent $2,000 getting these trees taken care of. But if you notice, the reason why this was as much as it was, you can't really see it, but there are power lines that are running along through here. And that's just how it is. So individually though, both of these trees fell in between the $300 to $1,200 mark. All right. Medium trees. We've already discussed what makes a medium tree. I decided to show you some better pictures of medium trees, because there's a spectrum there. There's the trees that I showed you in the beginning were trees that were going to fit more closer to the small tree size, so they're going to be closer to this end. These here kind of fit closer to, about here. Based on the condition, these factors here, the price is going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. See how there's all of this here, all this fencing, a little bit of fencing around it. There's a shed here. This is a driveway. There's equipment. There's a fence here. There's all this stuff here. We had to cut this tree down piece by piece because there was so much in the way. So this tree, we did it for about 15, not that big of a tree, and we didn't have to haul it off. So we didn't charge that much. If I had to haul this off, it would have been 25. You see this tree here? The top is going to cut off. This tree was dying. These limbs were dying. And it is in the same position this is. There's all this stuff around it. This also had to be cut piece by piece, but we did this one first. So so the branches weren't going to get caught in these branches. This one actually extends out further than this one. So we didn't charge we charged about the same price just because it had lesser limbs and we didn't have to haul it off. So all in all, for both of these, we charged about $3,000 to do them. And so you can expect to pay the same. So 2 trees under $5,000 doesn't get much better than that. All right, so this here is a very dead tree. You can't see it, but there's some dead here. There's a lot of these branches. They are running along these power lines. This is a right here. It's the roof of a house. So very dangerous, very dangerous. I showed you a very, very big tree. I wanted to show you a tree that was closer to this end of the spectrum. The other tree that I showed you was right in the middle. This is closer to this end. We did this tree for 35. We had to haul it off. There were a lot of branches. It was dangerous because of the power lines. We weren't able to get those dropped. It was right here by this the house, and there's other homes around it. This is actually so 35 is what we did this tree for, just based off of these here. So it gives you a pretty good idea. All right. So what you need to be looking for is your tree dying. All right. If there are mushrooms on the tree, if there are mushrooms around the tree, if there are mushrooms near the root system, the tree is dying. If there's mushrooms within 10 feet of the tree, it's dying. And you need to have someone come out and look at it to kind of give you an idea of how much longer you have. Warped bark. Okay. If the bark is doing type of a wave, or it seems like it's swollen in places and not in other places, it's warped. That's not a good sign. That generally means that the exterior of the tree is getting too much water. It's holding too much water, which tells us that there is some type of bacteria or something that is going on there, some type of disease that's in the tree that is causing it to withhold water right there. It's kind of like when people retain water in their bodies. That's generally a sign of like someone being sick, like they have diabetes or something. So it's kind of like that with trees. If the tree is holding water like that, then the tree it's dying, and you need to have someone come and look at it. Cracking along the trunk. This can be very dangerous, really fast. Like this is dangerous. It is dangerous, but it's a really fast that I need you to understand. If your tree is cracking sideways like this, it's the whole thing's gonna crack. It's gonna fall. It's gonna go over. If it's cracking like this, running parallel to the trunk, your tree is gonna split like this, and it's gonna take out whatever's near it on both ends. So cracking along the trunk, you need to get that taken care of immediately. Vines. If there are vines growing up your tree, they are choking your tree. They're choking your tree. Vines grow really fast and they cause problems pretty quickly. I've seen vines kill a tree within 2 years, and it had to be replaced because it was just not getting the nutrients it needed, and it started to grow mushrooms and the warped bark, and like just it started to waterlog. You know, like it still has leaves, but in places it's waterlogging. So it's very dangerous. Leaves fall all year long. If it's summertime and you are losing leaves that look like these, yeah, your entire root system of the tree is gone. There's no more structure for the tree, and a good storm's going to come in and it's just going to knock your tree over. It's bad. I've seen it happen. That's what happened to that one tree that I showed you that it was on the house. That's what happened. They were losing trees in the middle of summer, didn't know what was going on, didn't know it was a problem. From the time the leaves started falling to the time that the tree fell on their house, it was 1 month. So definitely get somebody out there to look at your tree. Dead limbs. Dead limbs generally indicate that your tree has not been pruned like it needs to be. Trees do need to be trimmed every year. They just do. Just like any other house plant that you have, they need to be trimmed. Dead limbs is not an indication that your tree is necessarily dying, but parts of it is dying and those parts need to be trimmed off. If there is excessive dead, if the limbs don't get cut off soon enough, then it will go into the trunk and it will cause those rotten spots in the trunk, and it will start rotting from that point, and that will start hurting the tree. It can actually cause holes into the trunk itself, and those are good for squirrels. But it's also really bad for your tree, and yeah, it's really bad for your tree. Because it'll rain and water will get inside of there and it'll start eroding it and waterlogging the inside of the tree. And then before you know it, you just have a full-blown dead tree that's standing there, and at any moment it's just going to fall and crush something, or pieces of it are going to fall and crush your roof. Either if there's anything else I can think of that you need to look out for. Really, if you need to look for any holes that are in the tree from where the dead limbs have already fallen, and if there's any if there's any hollowed out holes in your tree, like if there's birds living in your trees, not like they made a nest, but if it's living in the trunk, or you have squirrels living in the trunk, your tree needs to be looked at. It's probably already started to die. Okay, so cost of tree service. Conclusion: make sure that you get a licensed and insured tree service to take care of your trees. That's the moral of the story right there. That's what you need to make sure that you have. If you have any of those factors that we talked about, you feel free to give us a call, 501-420-3613. We are in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We would love to come out and give you a tree bid, look at your tree, tell you whether or not it's dying, you know, if it can be saved, those kinds of things. You can go to our link right here, Tree Connection central-arkansas.com, and fill out our form, and we will be in contact with you and come out and give you a quote. If you'd like to take our quiz, you can go here. If you'd like to learn more about the cost of tree service, you can go here to this link here, and just little fun stuff that's there. You can watch this video, you can do the quiz, you can read our articles, that kind of stuff. Well, thank you so much for watching. This has been an exclusive Tree Connection. So have a great day. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.